Hello, everyone.
Hi, everyone. I'm Nick.
And I'm Diana. And this is Team RCIA Tuesday on Facebook Live. And we every time we do this, our homeowner's lawnmower starts going. So.
And it doesn't matter if we do it on Tuesdays or if we do it at a different time of the day. There's a bat signal that goes up that says they're doing live.
And
so
it's time
let's get
to
the
mow the
lawnmowers
lawn.
out. So.
But hey, today we are praying for everyone in the Midwest who is suffering from flooding. So there's so much that we need to pray for, and we continue to pray for New Zealand. And for all of you during this Lenten season, we are, gosh, what are we? Second week? Second week.
Yeah.
Yeah, so Scrutiny's coming up.
Coming up this Sunday.
And so we thought, we've been talking about Scrutiny's the last 2 weeks, right? So this week.
I think we talked about Lent in general, too.
Yes. Yeah. Well, we're going to be talking about Lent.
It's all Lent all the time. Anyway, this week I wrote a blog post on some tips about the presentations and mostly what not to do. But there's some stuff about what to do in there as well, and we're going to talk about those. But if you want to read the whole post, Diana's putting that in the link at the bottom there, and you can get a more coherent version of what we're about to say on the written the written form. But one thing about the presentations that I don't know, I can't remember the first time I experienced a presentation, but I do know that when I experienced it, what got presented was like a scroll or a written text.
Well, how about if we back up first and just say what the presentation is before we go into
what are the presentations?
Specifics of that. Well, okay, so in the Rite of Christian Initiation of Adults, based on some of our historical tradition from the way the church initiated new members into the Christian way of life, there have developed a couple of rituals, presentations, a presentation of the Creed, and a presentation of the Lord's Prayer.
And this goes back to 3rd or 4th century. Augustine, who's 5th century, was really strong about doing the presentations, thought they were very important for his catechumens.
And he called them
the treasures of the church. And so then his teaching to the catechumens was, once you have these treasures, you'll have them in your heart, you'll have the treasure of the kingdom of God forever. And
correct me if I'm wrong, in the early church, especially because of the persecution of Christians, it really was a big deal to become Christian. You had to make a life or death commitment to becoming baptized. And so a lot of the treasures of the church were in a way kept secret or kept hidden away, and only given to those who really had proven that they were going to make this commitment.
Yeah, and that would be in 3rd century, mostly in Rome, and Rome is where we get a lot of our, a lot of documents were better preserved in Rome, and so we can trace back what happened there. And so that's true. There was some secrecy around, particularly the text of the Creed, that they didn't want that to fall into the hands of the persecutors. But the persecutions in general weren't as widespread as a lot of us think they were, and particularly by Augustine's time, Christians weren't persecuted, in the same way that they were in the Roman Colosseum in the 3rd century, for example. But still, the tradition continued, even though the texts weren't quite so secret. And certainly today they're not secret, but they are very, very important. Again, as we said, treasures of the church, to be treated with reverence and with a sense of the power that they contain.
Exactly. And so the first presentation is the presentation of the Creed. And I think in the Spanish translation of the RCIA, it's called the presentation of the symbol. And symbol is another word for creed. It's the symbol of our faith.
Yeah.
Literally, it's only those who were Christian were the ones who carried the symbol in their heart and on their lips. And so that it is a literal kind of understanding of the power of these words. They're not just words, they were the whole icon of our faith. And so the first presentation in our contemporary days in the Rite of Christian Initiation of Adults typically takes place during the week of the third week of Lent, correct?
Yes.
Okay, so this Sunday is the third Sunday of Lent, and so sometime after Sunday, during the week or Sunday afternoon, you would celebrate the presentation of the creed with the elect, so the unbaptized catechumens who have been chosen for baptism this coming Easter Vigil.
And you might also celebrate it with a very small group of baptized candidates. Well, it depends on where your baptized candidates are coming from. But almost in my whole time of doing RCIA over 30 plus years, the vast majority of the baptized candidates that I've worked with have had some Christian formation, and maybe would not have memorized the Apostles' Creed, but they would have professed faith in the Father, Son, and Holy Spirit, the basic creed, the baptismal creed. And so they would not be presented with the creed. But if I have had on occasion, and some of you may have had more experience with this, if you have a baptized person who, pretty much the day after they were baptized, they were never brought back to church again, and never raised in the faith, and never got any sense of a creedal sense of their faith, a belief, any of that, then they could also be presented with the creed because they've never really experienced it. But that would be, you have to sort of parse out who your candidates are. In my experience, most candidates, baptized candidates, are not appropriate to celebrate this rite with them.
Yeah, because they've professed that creed every Sunday that they have been participating in a Christian community. So it makes no sense to present them with these words as if they were brand new to them. So, and you'll find that some of you, all of you, I'm sure, know that there is a book, The Rite of Christian Initiation of Adults. This is the official universal text for the process of adult initiation in the Christian faith. But in the back, the United States version has an appendix called the National Statutes for the Catechumenate. And in paragraph 31, it talks there about those who are already baptized in another Christian tradition. And it says there that for those uncatechized adults who are preparing for reception or confirmation and Eucharist, the rites of the presentation of the Creed and the Lord's Prayer might be proper for them if they have received no Christian instruction or formation. So it's very specific. So it's there, paragraph 31. Okay.
So then when you're actually celebrating this rite, I don't know, but it's probably because of our Western education or something. But we think that it means that when we present them with the creed, we present them with like a nicer version of what's in the missalette. You know, we print it out on nice paper, or we even buy a nice version of it from a publisher.
And they're beautiful. Yeah. These posters are lovely.
Yeah. But if we go back to, say, Augustine's church, you know, they weren't presenting scrolls to the candidates. The way the creed was presented and the way the RCIA envisions the creed being presented is that it's presented from our hearts to the hearts of the elect. And so it's an oral presentation, and the elect are intended then to receive that through their ears and into their heart and memorize it. And you're going to freak out and say, how can they memorize it if they don't have a text? You know, you can give them that nice scroll after the liturgy is over, or the missalette or something to take home to memorize. It's actually the responsibility of the godparents, or it was in the early church anyway, the responsibility of the godparents to make sure that the elect memorize the creed and the Lord's Prayer in time for the Easter Vigil. So that's a little role you can give to your godparents if you want to help involve them more in the preparation of their elect. Yeah.
Well, a little bit more history on the presentation of the creed specifically. Another traditional word for this ritual is the traditio. That's a Latin word, basically tradition, that we get tradition from that, but it's the handing on, the traditio, the giving over. We also get the word trade.
Right.
From
so
that, right?
So if you think of, I'm going to give you this and you give me that, you know, like a hand-on trade.
Yeah.
It has that sense in the root of the word.
So the presentation of the creed, the traditio, is the trading, the giving of the symbol of the church, the treasure of the church, to these soon to be baptized persons. And then at Holy Saturday, the preparation rites is the reditio, the giving back of that creed by the elect who will be baptized that night, giving back through their own spoken words the creed they had received several weeks earlier, as sort of proof that they have completed their conversion and are indeed ready to be baptized that night. So it's kind of cool, this whole system of our rituals, the traditio and the reditio.
Yep.
Okay.
So that's the creed, and that's, so again, the biggest thing you want to keep in mind in this first part that we're focusing on here is we don't want to hand on a written version of the creed, like a scroll, and the same with the Lord's Prayer. We don't want to hand on a written version of that. That it would be done orally. For the creed, it's presented by the assembly as they proclaim the creed, and in the presentation of the Lord's Prayer, it's presented by the person who proclaims the gospel, the priest or the deacon who proclaims the gospel. It's the gospel of the Lord's Prayer. And that's how the presentation happens in that ritual. And with the creed, and we would also with the Lord's Prayer, you want to do this slowly. And so when we do the presentation of the creed, for example, Diana's very good at coaching the assembly to breathe after each line, and to just take a breath before moving on. And the assembly has to practice a couple of times, but after a couple of times they get it. And then as it's presented in the ritual, it's quite beautiful.
So just taking a look, again, everything is in the ritual text here, starting at paragraph 160 in the RCIA. It says there, and you can use either the Apostles' Creed or the Nicene Creed. You wouldn't use both. Just pick one. Either one is perfectly fine. We typically use the Apostles' Creed because it's shorter. It's easier for the assembly to say that slowly and deliberately and prayerfully. And so here it says, the celebrant alone begins, I believe in God the Father. And then the rubrics, the instructions, the red directions in your ritual text, it says, as the elect listen, listening is a ritual action. The celebrant continues with the assembly of the faithful. And so the assembly of the faithful with the celebrant continues, creator of heaven and earth, I believe in Jesus Christ, etc., all the way down to the end. And so the ritual handing on is spoken, and the receiving of it is oral.
Oral.
Yeah.
Oral. It's Pirate Day.
I think that was last month.
Okay.
Okay. So what else?
So first big thing, don't present a written text. Second big thing that we want to make sure everybody's clear about is we never combine the presentations with the scrutinies. I've seen that happen in some places, and it's just not good. There are a couple of things wrong with it. First of all, the ritual prayers get all kind of mixed up. The assembly, it makes the scrutiny longer, and the assembly doesn't quite get the distinction, the ritual actions. And the biggest problem is the readings for the scrutinies don't fit with the readings for the presentations. And so that becomes problematic as well. So we never want to combine the presentations and the scrutinies. I think the pastoral motivation, sometimes the pastoral motivation for combining them is, if we celebrate the scrutinies during the weekday, then the presentations. If we celebrate the presentation of the creed, for example, during the week after this coming Sunday, then many fewer parishioners will be part of that celebration. If that's your motivation, then next year what you'll want to do, the Rite allows for this, that we can do those presentations in winter ordinary time, just before Lent starts. So you pick a couple of Sundays that are close to Lent, and you would select those elect who are those catechumens, rather, who will be going to the rite of election. Not all of your candidates every year, all of your catechumens every year will be going to the rite of election. Only those who will be going to the rite of election would celebrate the presentations in winter ordinary time just before Lent, if you wanted to celebrate them at a Sunday liturgy.
Because at a Sunday liturgy, in ordinary time, for good reason and good purpose, you can change some of the readings, and so that would assist in that celebration there. Okay.
And that's another point that I wrote about in the blog post that we want to make sure is that we do use the assigned readings for the presentations. So if you move them to a winter ordinary time Sunday, or if you do them at a weekday mass in the 3rd week of Lent and the 5th week of Lent, you'll change the readings for that day to the readings that are given in the RCIA for those rituals. You can also do these presentations, though, outside of Mass. It can be done as a Liturgy of the Word service. So if you have, or it can be combined with something else that's already going on in the parish. So if you have, say, a Lenten soup supper, you could begin that supper with a prayer, either in the church or wherever the supper is being held, as a modified Liturgy of the Word with the presentations. Yeah. You could do it in combination with Stations of the Cross. If you have adoration going on during Lent, you could incorporate this as part of the adoration. So you don't necessarily need to reinvent the wheel. Look around and see what else is going on in the parish, and you'll automatically have some parishioners, because they will have been coming to those events anyway. Yeah. Even if you just have a parish meeting, like the Knights of Columbus is meeting on Thursday next week, then ask them if they would be happy to begin their meeting with prayer, and you could do this prayer with the presentation of the creed with all the knights and their wives. And
that is so much, just in general, that is a much more effective way to get the entire parish involved in the RCIA, instead of making an announcement on Sunday saying, oh, Monday night tomorrow at 7:30 here in the church, the RCIA group is going to celebrate the presentation of the creed. We invite all of you to come. Not everyone's going to come. But if you already have a vibrant Friday night Lenten event that the parish goes to, just do it there. Look at what's happening already in your parish and use those events to bring in the RCIA people, instead of trying to get the parish into your own special RCIA gathering.
Now we got, before we get too much further, we got like 2 or 3 more things we want to talk about. But before we get too much further, we want to let you know about a free gift we have for you, because last time we almost forgot. So we want to, Diana's going to put that in the comments here right now. And this is a list of do's and don'ts for the scrutinies.
I feel like every time in Lent, we got lots of do's and don'ts.
Yeah. Well,
it's our penitential attitude or something. I don't know. Exactly. We should be more joyful.
Yeah. So.
But there you go. Click on the comments.
Yeah, so it's a free PDF, free download that you can look at those do's and don'ts. Okay, so just to make sure we got that in, and also if you're liking what you're hearing, just a shameless plug here. If you'd hit your like button, what that does is it tells the rest of the Facebook world out there that we're live, and it will let people know we're here.
Or the heart button.
The heart button. Yeah. Okay, so another point then, something we want to take care with when we celebrate the scrutinies is what I mentioned before about the baptized candidates. Making sure that if we're going to celebrate this with baptized candidates, it's baptized candidates who are truly uncatechized. Yeah.
And so those candidates who are catechized, they have a very specific role. They are members of the faithful who give the creed or the Lord's Prayer to the elect. And so it's not like
they would come. If you're going to do it on, say, a Monday night in the 5th week of Lent, then you want all your somewhat catechized baptized candidates to come and celebrate as part of the assembly, because they will be handing over the creed from their heart to the heart of the elect as well.
I like you keep talking about heart to heart. You want to say something about creed?
Yeah. So I'm not a big linguist, so some of you, if you are, you can correct or help expand this for me. But my understanding of the word creed, credo, comes from a Latin. It shares the same root as the Spanish word for heart, corazón. And so when we say I believe, if we say that in Latin, credo, then we're not specifically just saying I believe, and as we're sort of implying I believe with all my heart. And so it really has that deeper sense of, this is not just going to my brain, but it's as St. Augustine said, it's treasures that we're going to carry around in our heart.
Yeah.
And so knowing that by heart, knowing the creed by heart, was really important to Augustine, and it will be really important to our candidates as well, our catechumens as well, and not just the creed, of course, but the Lord's Prayer as well. Diana, you mentioned about when we give back the creed.
Oh, yeah.
You want to talk a little bit about the options for the Lord's Prayer?
Oh, the option. Well, first I got to find that.
Okay. Well, as she's looking that up,
we don't give back the Lord's
right.
Prayer.
With the giving back of the Lord's Prayer is at the Easter Vigil when we pray the Lord's Prayer.
Pray together.
We pray together with the assembly. But you do have the option with the Lord's Prayer. If you don't celebrate the presentation of the Lord's Prayer on the 5th week of Lent, it can be that the presentation of the Lord's Prayer can be celebrated on Holy Saturday. As part of the preparation rites for the Easter Vigil. So that's just something to know.
Holy Saturday, there's so many options.
Lots of options.
And pieces that go into it. So don't stress so much about the Holy Saturday preparation rites. Just include what is possible and just really make it a sense of preparation and retreat and spiritual intense prayer for that day.
Yeah, make it a day of retreat is the biggest thing. Get your elect well ahead of time. They should already know by now that there should be nothing on their calendar. They shouldn't be watching TV or going to the mall. It's a day of just retreat. And it could be a retreat at your, like one parish I was involved in, they had stuff available all day long at the parish for the elect. Some of it was, planned prayer with, a presider and all that stuff. And other times it was just sit in the church and pray. But something all day long on Holy Saturday was going on for the elect.
Yep.
So another thing to keep in mind about the elect, I got an email from a guy this week. He said he had 30 catechumens, 30 elect who are going to get baptized at the Easter Vigil. I think in my life, in 30 plus years of doing this, the max I've ever had is 5, and 3 of those were children. So it's
amazing?
So it was amazing. But if you have a lot of elect, if you have more than a few, and you have kind of a larger worship space, and say you're doing this on a Sunday in ordinary time, or you're doing it a weekday mass, spread the elect around in the assembly space. So what Diana tends to do is have them in the rite actually says to call them forward, so they come forward with their godparents. So we have them actually do that, and then Diana begins singing the Litany of the Saints. And we process the elect around through the assembly as we sing the Litany of Saints. And she's told the assembly beforehand, as the elect pass by, then as a sign of reverence for their journey, bow toward them as they pass by you. And then as they're processing, if there's a lot of them, we kind of drop them off at their stations. And then they're placed, maybe 3 down the center aisle and 2 in the left aisle and 1 in the right aisle or something like that.
So make the movement in the ritual itself ritual rather than just directive. Okay, let's all stand, let's go to our place. So make that part of the ritual.
And you need a little bit of an MC or somebody who can sort of catch the elect, because we never rehearse this with the elect. We only rehearse it with the godparents. But by the time we get there, then the godparents forget. And the procession is going on, and they're supposed to stop, at the 4th pew in the center aisle, and they don't remember, and they keep going. Well, you need somebody to go catch them and say, no, you come back here and help arrange things a little bit.
Yeah. So you can get your team members, assign a team member to one godparent elect pair, and they're the ones that corral
kind of guide them.
to where they need to go.
But it's it's a beautiful ritual, and it has a solemnity to it, but that doesn't mean it's dry and, you know, that there's no room for flexibility and stuff. So you can have a little bit of fun with it, and if people in the wrong place, you know, kind of josh them into getting to the right place and things like that. It doesn't have to be all, you know, like we're at the Vatican doing this or something.
Yeah. So
let's see.
What else?
There is in both the presentation of the Creed and the presentation of the Lord's Prayer, there's a prayer for the elect at the end of the rites. And especially if you have them placed around the assembly like we were talking about, then one thing that really has a huge impact on them is when we begin that prayer, we ask the presider to not only extend his hands, but to ask the members of the assembly to step out of their pews and place their hand on the shoulder or the arm or the head of the elect closest to them. And then if they can't get, you know, if they're too far away, if they're too far back to actually get to one of the elect, then they place their hand on the shoulder of the person in front of them. So that creates like this giant prayer chain around the church. And when we've done mystagogy with the elect after a celebration where we've done that, that tends to be one of the most powerful things that they resonate with, that sense of the whole community being connected with them and praying with them in that moment.
Yeah, and it's kind of a visible sign of what has just been spoken. The unity that we have because we share the same creed. We see that and we feel that in this prayer over the elect as we are gathered around the elect. And so I know a lot of so first off, that's not in the rite itself. So this is all an adaptation that we've used and found to be prayerful and reflects the intention of the ritual itself. And I know a lot of parishes do similar kinds of things where they invite people to extend their hands in blessing during many kinds of blessings. I personally like that more tactile sense. Plus it gets people out of their pew, but not so much like you all have to get out of the pew. You just have to move a few feet over to begin to surround the elect with our prayer.
And you got to know your community. You know, if that would be a new thing for your community, they'd be uncomfortable, then it helps to use phrases like, you know, as you are comfortable, or if you would like, you know, things like that. But you also want to look at it from the lens of the elect. As Diana likes to say, they're only going to be elect once. So we want to make sure that they have a powerful experience in this 40-day journey that they're going to carry with them the rest of their lives. It should be just so memorable. And I've been to a few, you know, scrutinies and presentations that were not very memorable, and I felt deeply sad, you know, because there's no way to recover that for those folks for whom, you know, it was just a kind of a rote, we read the words and so we did it sort of ritual. And we've all been to those. And for those of us who grew up Catholic or been Catholic a long time, we know that next Sunday could be better, or the other parish could be better, or, you know, it's not really going to be that much of a roadblock or a hindrance in our faith. But for the elect, for whom this is their first time down this road, and as elect in the journey of Lent, their only time down this road, just so important that we bring all of our pastoral resources to bear as much as we're humanly able to get as close as we can to the vision that the Rite gives us.
Related to that, it's not just for the benefit of the elect. Doing ritual well, especially around these words that I know I'll rattle off. Well, no, I can't rattle it off as easily these days since we've changed all the words. I still have to read it. But we gloss over these words so quickly without thinking. When we do these presentations really well, also for the benefit of the faithful, they renew their love for these words, and new meaning is infused into the words that are so familiar to them.
Yeah.
Okay.
Cool. All right, everybody. Well, that's about all the time we have. And we know you're really busy during this season. So we're just grateful that you spent this time with us. Remember in the comments there, if you're just joining us, there's 2 links. One is a link to a blog post where we kind of go over all this more systematically in written fashion. And another link to a free handout on do's and don'ts for the scrutinies. It's a free gift. You can just click there and find the download information.
Yeah.
Okay?
And next week I'm going to be on the road.
Yeah, we may not be here next week because we'll be traveling.
But we'll be around. And if you are going to the LA Religious Education Congress this weekend, Catholic Disneyland in the United States, both Nick and I are doing workshops, but we're not doing workshops together.
No, we're not.
We never do a workshop together at Congress. But we are both doing a workshop on Friday. You're doing something on, do you remember?
I don't know. I need my travel agent to tell me.
But
if you're going, it's in the brochure. It's on the website. So
we're on Friday, and then I'm on Saturday, and then Nick is back on Sunday.
But come up and say hi to us. We always are thrilled when we meet folks. So
excellent.
All right, everyone. Take care. God bless. Have a wonderful Lent.
Oh, and happy solemnity of Saint Joseph.
Yes.
Woohoo! Yay, Saint Joseph. All right. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.